Alright, spoiler review. I hate to say it, but this seems to be a common thread. Oh yeah, sorry. Spoiler review. Black Panther 2. Wakanda Forever. If you ain't seen the movie, why are you watching this? If you ain't seen the movie, do you care? It's a good movie. Anyways, the spoiler review of these big tentpole movies that are Marvel or DC lately. Here's the catch. People are walking away from the movie talking about the twist ending. What? There was 2 hours and 40 minutes and the only thing you want to talk about is what happened at the end? That doesn't seem right. That seems a little bit like magic tricky, like, look over here. Keys. Gosh. And so they figured out a pretty tasteful way to replace Black Panther by having a secret child. Weird. And they didn't reveal that to the very, very end. And again, that to me is like a crux of the whole movie now, because they figured out the way that they wanted to bring Black Panther around. You know, again, great. Sorry, spoiler. We punched right into the biggest spoiler right there, didn't we? It's like watching the Black Adam movie and only talking about Superman for some reason, even though he was only in it for like 5 seconds. It's weird. It's like they're trying to distract us. Anyways, the movie was really well done. They did a good job about trying to portray, you know, Boseman as disappearing right off the bat. Shuri's shown in a situation where she has the opportunity to save his life, isn't able to. You know, you feel some of that weight of emotion throughout this. By the way, here's the blow-by-blow spoiler that I do, right? Memory like a trap when it comes to certain things. It is just... Anyways, she can't save him, and then she feels the need to, you know, get the burden on, and then, meanwhile, the rest of the world is getting, you know, butt puckery about Wakanda and the vibranium situation. So the French ambassador has to send in a bunch of little Secret Service agents, and the how do you say it? Delors Melage? However you say it. They whip the crap out of them because, you know, we got to show what kind of power. Like, you can't surprise them. You simple, you know, non-special world people cannot surprise them. It just don't work that way. So, what's happening is that a deposit of vibranium has been discovered by regular old human beings, and there is a secondary, you know, world out there, Atlantis, for all intents and purposes. They call them I forget the word now. It's hard to remember. It's a Mayan-based kind of culture that I love, you know. And what's concerning to this particular culture is that if humans get a hold of vibranium, these two cultures, they're the only two that have it, you know, they're going to be at danger. They don't trust the outside world, blah, blah, blah. They want to make an ally. Throughout the movie, there's a number of things that they just on the nose, where it's like they put two people down in the ocean, and the guy that checks in is like, well, my life signs are reading all normal, and the other girl doesn't say nothing. And you're like, well, you must be the one that gets eaten first or something, because why would you be the one announcing that your life functions are okay? And of course, that's exactly what happens. It's like, oh, hit the guy, the red shirt guy that said he was okay. You don't say that you're okay, otherwise you die. Which obviously isn't true. You go around this world and you say that you're okay because you are. Not to falsify it, to feel it. Anyways. So, the Talocan, that's their name. The Talocan come in, they start throwing his weight around. He tells, you know, the queen and the princess that basically he'll just kill everybody if they're not careful, because they are that powerful. And this is an unfortunate flaw in all of their everything, is that they seem to have the largest army on the planet with the technology to back it up. And although the army was winning, The final battle was officially decided by the head heroes in a separate scenario where one yields to the other, and this is where the contrived part where like we're pushing agendas versus like, and we're trying to solve story problems to try and get to the next Black Panther and blah 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 blah. So they have a yield of sorts, but in the meantime, the Taliban could just wipe out the Wakandans. You know what I mean? So there's a really weird power shift in that usage, because in the real world, that little in the real world, it's a movie, I know, don't remind me, they utilize these rules, and then it seems like it ebbs and flows on how strictly they will stick to the rules. Again, so if you keep saying throughout the movie, we could overwhelm you with sheer numbers and whatnot, and when we finally get to the fight where that's occurring, and it literally is, then it's called out on a technicality, and the real end of an actual fight or whatever doesn't go the way that it probably would have. It's not important, it's just weird. It's weird to keep on bringing up your numbers. They brought in a seashell to be this kind of notifier one. I'm like, oh, that'll definitely come back later. Nope, just sat around. Maybe it's a cut scene on the floor, right? 2 hours and 40 minutes. They flooded Wakanda, right? That was in the comics. They had to make sure to do that. I don't know. And then a lot of stuff in the middle is artsy fartsy stuff. Ooh, they had to introduce Ironheart in this movie, which was this 19-year-old tech genius and whatnot. I do have concerns, of course, with the fact that all of our leads look like they're about 16, even if they are 19, 20, 21, etc. They do seem to do a real good job about picking the ones that just literally look like they're 14, even if they are of age. It's a very on the nose kind of thing to ignore, because it's right there in front of you. It's like, man, why is everybody so young looking? Anyways, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in the middle about using her ability to recreate a finder for vibranium, and because she's a threat on that kind of level, the American government's looking for her, the Taliban's looking for her, so the Wakandans got to go in there, kidnap her first. They fail to do their job, and then the princess, Letitia Wright, the princess gets taken by the Taliban, and then there's, of course, a battle that would ensue. The queen is distraught. She has to fire her number one guy. This was another forced thing. Maybe these are the studio decisions. Like, all the stuff around these parts are like Ryan Coogler stuff, and then they're like, and then the studio's like, listen, you have to have the queen fire Dora Milaje. Fire the head of the Dora Milaje, which it's the girl Michonne. I can't remember the actress's name. I haven't learned it from Walking Dead, and she is so great in this movie. Some of the forcing that is a plot device. Like, it's an obvious plot device, because it's like doing those. Would this really kind of flow that way? It's like they're adding a level of difficulty and emotion where it wasn't necessary, because they didn't necessarily have to, like, oh, you let us down here because of this, and you let us down here because of this, so you're fired. I'm like, man, she's way too committed to you guys to just be fired like that, but whatever. And in the midst of everybody in your family dying, and you guys have power struggle in the world, it just seemed a little, that particular story point, and it didn't really go anywhere, because she was still just as important throughout the rest of the movie. She just didn't have a spear in her hands anymore, and it forced her to get along with Shuri just a little bit more. Not that they don't get along, because they have a really good dynamic. The actors got along well. The dialogue between the two was very fluid, very natural, and they had this ongoing gag throughout the movie about the suit that she would or would not wear, and what she does or does not look like when she's got her head all exposed. That was a joke a couple times. That was funny. in the sense that I believe in the first Black Panther, whenever she went into the Mission Impossible, looking into the other, governments and whatnot, she had a wig, or she blended in significantly better. In this movie, they made a point to show that she stands out like a sore thumb because she's got a shaved head. I thought that was an interesting undermining take, because it makes some of the Dora Milaje look a little like stupid for comedy's sake. And it's interesting that they would choose to do that, given how much respect the movies treat the Dora Milaje. And the Dora Milaje, for you, those of you that don't know, first of all, why the hell are you watching this video if you don't even know what the Dora Milaje is, if you're watching this video? And that is that, like, they make them the guards of the kingdom, and the pallbearers, and like everything to do with the royalty, and they love and respect the royal family and everything. But again, they had to undermine her. They undermined her a couple times, and they gave her a new outfit. Part of me wonders too if it's maybe a superhero with a name that I couldn't begin to point out, or it's like, oh, this is a character that's in the comics or in a video game or whatever, and they wanted to give her the suit so that she's established, like kind of like Misty Knight in the Marvel live action television series on Netflix. It's like Misty Knight kind of got dealt an okay hand. Like, I had heard she was pretty cool, and then, yeah, she was fine. She was like an atypical television cop. Going through the movie, where am I? So they stole the princess, they fired the general, and then they have to go back over to the X, which is T'Challa's wife. I can't remember her name. It'll come to me. Phenomenal actress. She was nominated in 12 Years a Slave. She was in Us. So good in Us. She got nominated for that too, I think. Lupita Nyong'o. She's phenomenal. The role itself didn't call for a lot. It seemed like it was more of like a means to an end kind of position that she had, because they put her off scene throughout most of the movie, and then they give you the answer with what I said at the beginning, like, well, she was off scene because she had a secret baby, like a soap opera would, amnesia. I forgot about it too. And I don't know. It was interesting. It was an interesting choice to see her kind of put to the side. She plays a fill-in role to help with the traditional stuff, and then get like the special herb to be recreated, because in the first Black Panther, one of the things that they caused is they got rid of all the special herb to create the actual Black Panther, the super strength and everything to induce it, right? So she was literally recreating that, which was actually a kind of a through line from beginning to end. Whenever she's standing next to all these molecules and everything, she's figuring it out. So she recreates the special flower. Lupita Nyong'o is there to administer it through the tradition's sake and everything. And then she falls asleep, and she wakes up to Michael B. Jordan, which is one of the best hidden secrets probably of that entire movie. I don't recall ever hearing hide nor hair about him showing up. But of all people, makes sense. He probably loved Chadwick Boseman too, and probably even was like, please let me be a part of this movie in some fashion. And they found a way, and it made sense. They brought Michael B. Jordan in just to be this like spiritual awakening guidance for Shuri, who is a confused individual between her technology and her tradition, because her tradition is dead. Her whole family's gone. She hasn't got a lot of direction based on what she understands to be the right answer in her own country, except technology is king and blah, 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 blah. Anyways, so she gets the flower, she gets the power, and then she goes and spits out fireballs like Mario. She starts doing cool shoot things, makes a big entrance, one of those hero landings in the midst of a crowd, everybody oohs and ahs, like, oh, the Black Panther's back, woo! And then she just gets the position. That's just how it works. She created the thing that permitted them to be able to even have a Black Panther again, it's not so far-fetched to permit her to be the Black Panther. The only catch is that through circumstance she has become the Black Panther as opposed to that tradition. So maybe there's some parallels there. Like, tradition doesn't dictate everything. Some paths can be forged. Something like that. And so she does the superhero landing. She's surrounded by all the Wakandans. They claim her. They say, go get it. Let's go get our plan going. They go down and get Ironheart. They do a little sequence of designing and getting ready kind of thing. And then they go to war with the Talocan, where the Talocan are doing something in the middle of the ocean. And they get like a misreading. And it's really an ambush from the Wakandans. And then again, honestly, it just looked like the Wakandans lost. They were here's a whole dynamic of stupidity that you're never going to really make sense of. And that is, you allowed your land folk to get on a boat in the middle of an ocean full of things that will all destroy you because of two things. One, they outnumber you. They've said it multiple times. Two, and I haven't said this yet, they wield the power of the sea animals. All of them do. It's not like they have, like, they're riding whales and sharks and stuff, and they look badass. It's not Aquaman from like the 70s, 80s going, woo, and then the fish is like, yeah, what am I gonna do, bro? I'm a fish. No, they bring in whales, and these whales are helping. They do a great job with the water special effects and the costume designs and all these beautiful things. Their cinematography is amazing all throughout this movie. They do great slow-mo shots. So the Talocan come in, they beat the shit out of the Wakandans. There's a side fight between our new Black Panther and our already established Namor, or however you want to call him, Namor. And in all reality, everything that we watched all throughout that movie is him beating ass. Like, he just beats everybody up. And they made her go toe-to-toe because she had the Wakandan power. And because they need their, good guy winner, so to speak, for the script itself. That's where I'm kind of like, did it have to be Shuri? I mean, or a Shuri solo adventure? Could it have been maybe a combination of a couple, anyways. So they bring her in. She stalemates him, calls Namor to yield, even though he had beat her up, stabbed her through with a spear, and left her against a rock. Most people die from being impaled. I've heard through different history books that if you stab somebody through their side, or they die. That the suit she's wearing must be pretty. I mean, she is the technological genius. She showed as much. She showed through the movie that technology can win over tradition multiple times, all throughout. And then they submit. That's the end of it. Seriously, that's where it ends. Then we move on to sad stuff again, and all these flashback sequences of Chadwick Boseman just being the prince, being Wakanda, and then the sad. And I'm just like, man, this is very much like Fast and Furious. What is it, 7? Where Paul Walker had died, and they do that send off. Something speaks to me in that vein of similarity of the way it ended. And then they do the Talocan mentioned that making an alliance with the Wakandans out of they feel bad, empathy for them, so now they have an alliance whenever something bad happens, which I've heard speculation it might be Latveria, aka Dr. Doom and the Fantastic Four. That would have been a great little surprise, let me tell you what, because it still has the possibility of we don't know nothing about Latveria, and it's coming, right? It's going to be the next hidden nation or whatever. Now, last but not least, I'm trying to think. In passing, Talocan, Namor, mentioned that he was a mutant, but he said it in a passing way. He didn't say, I'm a mutant. But it sounded more like treated like a mutant or like an unusual speculation of sorts. And I have to say, you don't just drop the word mutant in a Marvel movie all casual like if you don't mean something by it. And that's the fact. They wouldn't have permitted, now since Fox has been owned for X amount of time and they got to start integrating all that into the system, mutant is unfortunately going to be it's not an afford. It's amazing. X-Men's great, but it has to be a big part of the system as we learn time and all that stuff as it passes. So, wow, too fast. Yeah, that was the movie. Seriously, and then it ends with we have a secret child that I also named T'Challa, which I'm like, I get it. But again, it's one of those a little on the nose because you guys want to keep T'Challa in the and this kid, I can't. I'm not good with ages sometimes, even though I have kids, because mine's 6 and she looks 10 and blah blah blah. This kid looks like he was between 8 and 10 years old. So you're telling me that she had an 8 to 10-year-old, child plus the 9 months? Again, how do you explain this secret child? Even within, I think, the time constraints, I feel like, but there was the blip, there was the people disappeared 5-year thingy. Like, I guess I might not know how all that works out in the time frame anymore. Like, where is this in relation to, fighting Thanos? It doesn't matter. They're just supposed to be fun. This one was respectful. It's a good movie. I do think people should go to see it. I think that it should make probably $1 billion. But I got other reasons why I hope it makes $1 billion too. Yeah, 21 minutes is long enough talking about it. It was a good movie. I felt like I kind of talked crap about it. But 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. It's a very respectful movie. It's got great visual effects. The costume design is amazing. They do funeral sequences all throughout the movie because of the characters that die, but they seem clearly like they were meant for Chadwick Boseman. Like, no question. That was like he got a send off on a movie that will live forever. That's crazy. Yeah, good movie. Gotta post these now, I guess. Bye. Click like, click subscribe, sponsors, blah. I'm just like everybody else.